the majority of the people don't understand what we're talking about here. They don't understand how the predatorial movements that we do get in their way and cause more trouble.
Heads up, this is part 2. Part 1 is where Martin and I get into the ranch, the horses, and reading the moment. So go back for that one first. Here, it's cattle. He's read millions of them, and he breaks down the move most people get backwards. Cows think more like horses than you'd guess, and empathy runs under all of it. Before we begin today's episode, I'd love to ask for your support. The simplest way to support this podcast is to hit follow or subscribe wherever you are listening. It helps the show reach more people who care about the same things that we do. Better horsemanship, deeper conversations, and a more thoughtful future for horses and the people who love them. And if this podcast has meant something to you, leaving a rating, a review, or a comment makes a huge difference. So thank you for being here. I really do not take your time or attention for granted. Now, let's dive into today's episode. So this is a really great opportunity to talk now, to break down what it takes, what are the ingredients. And I'm excited to dive into this because I experienced this working with your cows. What's required in order to keep a roe deer in place without any fencing, whether it be horses or whether it be cattle. And I experienced, after we worked your cows, I felt so much more in tune with my horses. And when I was loading them, I felt so like my gestures, whatever I was asking for, had to be so much subtler because I've been working on the balance point, the flight zone, being aware of my footfall, my horse's footfall in relation to the cow. It just, again, it's like these are really important skills. So let's break down for everybody who's listening. What are the skills required to do this work?
Well, this is where empathy comes in.
Yay! You said it first.
I'm still working on what empathy actually means, but anyway. But it goes back to understanding what that horse is not thinking, but what he's going to think, because you know what's going to happen next before he does.
Right.
So it's controlling that environment. You know those horses are moving around and pretty quick, they're going to leave the roe deer and start grazing out this way, or maybe break and run. Mm-hmm. You've had to turn them back so many times, you know they're going to start drifting that direction before they even think about it. Mm-hmm. You know, after about 3 or 4 hours, these cattle are going to say, we're tired of standing here. Our bellies are getting empty. Mm-hmm. We're getting thirsty. And we don't like it here anymore. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you just try to get your work. You just know those things. And then you make your choice. Okay, we still have work to do. They're going to be hard to hold, but we need to be here for another hour or two to get the job done. You know those things before the livestock knows it, whether it's cattle or horses. So when I go in the roe deer, say to work a cow out, we never talked about this. I typically, and I know some cutters that do this, most of them don't. You go to sort a cow, and if you go in there and you get in sync with that cow as you're driving it out of the herd, mm-hmm. that cow starts going, uh-oh, there's a predator stalking me, because you're making those moves mm-hmm. like a predator. But the tactic I do, and I see a handful of cutters I know, there's a lot of cutters I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying there's only a handful of them that do it. Of the ones I know, there's only a handful that do it. They'll go in there, and it's like these cattle. You go that way. And this cow might kind of look back there. You make sure you're not in sync with that cow. You just kind of look the other way, kind of give them that feeling, and they're sympathetic. You're not sympathetic arousing that cow. Mm-hmm. You're sympathetically arousing the other cattle around it. So you kind of brush the cattle away here, you brush the cattle away here, and this cow just keeps coming out here, and pretty quick it looks around and it's out there by itself. Like, where'd everybody go? It's still in the parasympathetic.
Oh, cool.
Now you drop the hammer and put your hand down and start doing your cutting horse thing, if you're in the cutting world. In my world, you get it out there, and if you just barely arouse it, and this cow has some training, it looks out at what we call the pratha, the cattle that you've already sorted, and it goes, hey, this looks like it could be uncomfortable. I'm going out there to that herd. That's how we train our cattle.
Cool.
And so back to how does that relate to horses?
Yes.
I've probably interacted with literally millions of cattle. Every calf I rope, I'm reading it. Every cow I cut, I'm reading it. There's 100 cows here I'm trailing along. I'm interacting with these cattle I need to push, those cattle that are in the lead. I'm reading, and people understand the term reading cattle.
Yes.
Okay, we don't need to get into flight zone, balance point, blah, blah, blah. Parasympathetic, sympathetic, blah, blah, blah. It's reading them. So it's knowing what they're going to do and knowing where you need to be to affect them. That's simple enough. But what a lot of people don't realize is like, these horses are real smart. Cows are stupid. Cows are not stupid. They're simple, maybe. But cattle, I don't know that they think any different than a horse. And I've been trying to get Dr. Peters to join me and document something on stock handling on this basis of, first of all, understanding that you can affect how a cow thinks just like you can affect how a horse thinks. My family's been doing it. People in this area has been doing it. That's how we make our living. Now, some people might have a better understanding than others, but you got to have some of this working in an open range condition.
Yeah. I wonder if Temple Grandin would be interested in doing that with you, because she's done work with horses and with cows.
But what she does, a lot of things would line up, but from what I've read, her stuff, she's kind of coming from a little different angle.
Yeah.
I don't think she would come out here and do what we're doing.
What you and Steve would do.
What I would have to explain some things when we're out here working cattle. Now, she's got a lot of insight, and she's done some good things with people that basically had corrals that didn't work.
Yep.
Well, that's obvious. Anybody that has worked cattle very much knows what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
In square corrals, that was made, the railroad designed those in cities that had square streets and square blocks and blah, blah, blah. They didn't think in terms of how cattle mill.
Yeah, cow psychology. They didn't think about that.
Yeah. Cattle don't see things, and that's what she points out, but that's what a lot of people that understand the stockmanship that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Not the rodeo, we're going to force them and hot shots and, she's done a great job showing people that you don't need the hot shots. You don't need to force cattle. It's like what a lot of people want to think is the traditional way of working cattle or traditional way of horsemanship. And I kind of take offense to that because they say the old way.
Yeah.
And granted, there was a lot of stuff in the old days. They laid them down and rolled them in the saddle and rode them up and blah, blah, blah. Okay. They beat them to submission. I guess some people probably did. But there was a lot of people that I was around that no. They was working off the chemicals, just like I'm talking about, working these horses outside.
They were nice bartenders.
You're not going to just smash them into a chute and with a hot shot to do your whatever branding, doctoring, whatever it was. No, you had to ease around there, and it wasn't a rodeo. You didn't chase them down to get a loop on them. You snuck around there, and maybe they're standing, maybe they're walking, and you drop a loop on them.
Well, and I'll speak to this, being here and experiencing the heat that exists in the Great Basin. I can't imagine any of the things that we see in the movies or what some people might interpret as the old way. None of that would fly in this kind of heat.
That's my point.
Everybody would get exhausted. No. People, horses, cows. You got to do it like the subtle, gentler, more efficient way, because the heat, the conditions in this environment do not allow you to exert that kind of energy.
Well, to back up a little bit, not get on this rabbit trail too long. The old days that I'm talking about, where we worked horses in an open road deer, you had to have this kind of horsemanship we're talking about.
Yeah.
After World War II, the mechanized revolution came in. Mm-hmm. A lot of that was lost. A lot of those people were unemployed. They had to go do other things. And it's just gradually went the other way. Mm-hmm. I mean, we have more fences. We don't have crews. Ranches don't pull a wagon like they used to. Mm-hmm. Very few outfits you hire onto. You would follow the chuck wagon around all summer, branding calves and gathering your beef. That was common when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how many different wagons there was in the Great Basin. 15, maybe 20. Now there's maybe 2 or 3.
Can you explain to everyone, just as a fun fact here, what is a chuck wagon?
It's a commissary wagon. The supplies, food, are carried in 1 or 2 wagons. In this area, they usually had a bed wagon to throw their bedrolls on.
Yeah.
And then the chuck wagon. And that's what you ate out of. And you see them in the movies.
Yeah. And people see chuck wagon races now and I don't think they realize, I certainly didn't, what the history of a chuck wagon is and its importance.
Well, the military had them. Anybody that, the wagon trains, they had their own deal. But basically in those days, you didn't go to the restaurant. And unless which I've done plenty of, you take your pack horse and, minimal groceries, minimal equipment to prepare food on a pack horse and your bedroll, and you go through the country like that, or you go, do whatever. That's one way of traveling. But if you had a crew, which a lot of these crews were 10 to 20 men or maybe even more on a ranch. My great uncle said when he was a kid, there were 6 different vaquero wagons where he grew up here on the mountain.
Wow.
Now you do the math, even if there's only 10 guys on each crew, which there was more than likely closer to 20 on each crew, that's a lot of vaqueros.
Yeah. Right
here for, him to watch and do everything. They were only there for a short season, but they'd come through the area, gather up all the cattle. But each one of them, back to the point, each one of them had their own wagon, their own crew. They worked together. But yeah, and they would gather, we're talking millions of acres that they would go through and gather all over this WWII desert out here. But it was the same way anywhere else in Texas or Arizona, or that's how they did it. The little family outfits didn't get far from home, but they still went out and worked with these, like my family, worked with these outfits that run a wagon. A lot of these guys that run a wagon, they might have been absentee owners, Miller and Lux and some names like that. They were based in California, but they run cattle up here. Some of them had property, a lot of them didn't. A lot of them were transit livestock owners.
So let's talk about the balance point. Let's talk about the flight zone, these things that are transferable between working cows and starting colts and working cows with horses, because I've experienced some unbelievable light bulb moments this week with you. Let's explain to everyone, what is the balance point and why is it important?
Well,
okay, before we get back into the conversation, I want to share something that has genuinely changed the way I feed my horses. One of my horses, Lady, who I talk a lot about on this podcast and who some of you know, is a sassy Appaloosa and a notoriously picky eater. She does not like feed with a lot of fillers or chemicals. She is sensitive in every way, including her skin, which has always made feeding her a careful process. She lets me know quickly when something does not agree with her. Finding a feed that she could eat consistently and that supports her overall well-being has mattered more to me than anything else. Total Equine by Total Feeds has been that feed. When I first tried Total Equine, I was super skeptical. It looks more like kibble than pellets, and I judged the look of it right away. Also, it's affordable. And as someone who's grown up deep in the competitive world of show jumping, I immediately interpret quality with price. Nothing in the horse world can be both good quality and affordable, right? Well, wrong. My horses have never looked better, and they love it. Thanks to important trace minerals like copper, zinc, and selenium, Lady's digestion is steadier than ever. Her weight is great, her coat quality improved measurably, and her top line has stayed intact, even with time off after our epic road trip across the country. That alone would have been enough to earn my trust. But that trust was tested in a big way when we took Lady and Galano across the country. Traveling over 25,000 miles with your horses demands consistency and nutritional integrity to balance the stress and demands of the road. Having a feed I could rely on no matter what made a huge difference. Total Equine kept both my horses nourished and settled through long hauls, new environments, and constant change. They're one of the only horse feeds in the industry to use Norwegian kelp, providing essential iodine, minerals, prebiotics, and thyroid support. I cannot say enough good things about Total Equine by Total Feeds. Developed by Dr. Harry Anderson, who I now consider a friend and ally in the fight for good horse care in this time of inflated prices and impossible economics in the horse world. I am careful about what I recommend, especially when it comes to nutrition. I've never spoken publicly about horse feed before, and I am proud to speak up now. Total Feeds has earned its place in my barn because it supports my horses in a way that is noticeable, measurable, and reliable. If you want to learn more about their approach to feeding, visit totalfeeds.com or pick up a bag at your local Tractor Supply. Let's explain to everyone, what is the balance point and why is it important?
Well, reading cattle is something that most people kind of understand, or they can say that guy can really read cattle, but to put more definition to it, what the cow is looking at is, let's say you're bringing this cow out to the edge of the herd. The cow is going to say, I want to go back to the herd. And I think I can go in front of you easier than going behind you. If the cow wants to go in front of you, that means you're behind her.
Yes.
Okay? So you pull up forward here a little bit and you block her. And if she turns and says, now I'm going to go behind you, you're in front of the balance point. But if you can rock up there and you got her balanced, she's not going forward, she's not going backwards, she's not going right, she's not going left, you have her balanced. That's the balance point.
What it felt like, and I'm curious what you think about this, for me, experiencing it for the first time, working the cows with Lady and with G, was it felt like you're kind of, and this is why it's so important, and this is why stockmanship is so powerful for our horsemanship, is I learned I had to shorten my horse's footfall because cows walk shorter than
Their
horses.
legs are shorter.
Their legs are shorter, right?
It's like walking with your grandkid.
Yeah.
He either has to run or you need to walk slower.
Right. So collected walk all of a sudden had a purpose because I can't find the balance point with this cow on Lady unless I can shorten her walk. It doesn't necessarily need to be
a collected walk.
But for me, my world, where I come from, right? Collected walk, all of a sudden, shorter footfall or slower footfall or more thoughtful steps, all of a sudden had a purpose,
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas when you're in a lesson and you're training and okay, we're going to work on collected and extended walk, right? You're just like in an arena, you go, okay, collected walk, extended walk. It's just a skill. It doesn't have a purpose.
Maybe you can have a slow walk without it being collected is my point.
Yes. Yeah. So all of a sudden I had to be aware of my pelvis. I had to ask, because I can't keep asking with the bridle. I have to ask with my entire body while lining myself up and observing and really trying to get in tune with that cow, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like trying to find the balance point between me and my horse and that cow felt like you're trying to like connect, like you're trying to connect like a string between the two of them.
Well,
and you can feel when you hit it, and then you can feel when you leave it.
That balance, horses, no, they have it in there.
Right.
Whether we're trying to get this foal that's got the halter on him for the first time,
yes,
to connect to you,
yes.
We led those colts on a loose rope.
Yesterday, yes, yeah.
We never took the slack out of the rope when they were following us.
Absolutely.
Because we didn't pull on them. We got behind them and yahooed them enough that they went, I think I'll step up here.
Mm-hmm.
And they finally, and this is what I was waiting for, instead of you just being an obstacle and they're going, do I go around you this way? Do I go around you this way? Do I stop? You stop, the person behind you pushes them forward. So pretty quick, the horse is like, I guess I don't need to go around this person. I'm comfortable right here.
Mm-hmm.
They was comfortable with their mother. In the first 30 minutes of life, they learned to rate their mother. That's in there.
Yes.
God put that in there.
Mm-hmm.
They know that. We don't have to teach them that. So where this foal has done this with its mother, it gets weaned, it does it with the herd, it stays with the herd. Just like the birds, you can have 1,000 birds in the sky, and they turn to the right, they turn to the left. Who says right or left?
Nobody.
They just know that.
Yes.
Is it telepathy? I don't know. But fish do it, birds do it,
yep.
Livestock do it.
Horses do it.
You can watch
Deer do it.
You can watch a herd of cattle, and not quite as in sync as birds and that, but when they start milling,
yes,
they all start milling because they don't want to run into each other.
Mm-hmm.
They might be a little dumber than a fish, but they do. Mm. So your horse has that in there. So whether that horse is going to hook onto you on the end of that rope only came tight when it went to go around you and you turned it back.
Mm.
But it found this safe place following you, right?
Correct, yeah.
Just like the safe place with his mother, safe place in the herd, we show him this safe place with this cow.
Mm.
So the horse learns to rate this cow. We don't have to collect them.
Right.
Same as that foal last night. It goes past the cow, you turn it back.
Yes.
It gets too slow with the cow, you bring it up. And pretty quick, it finds this spot right here that feels comfortable. Now we can change that. We can say, okay, I want to balance this cow straight away from the herd.
Yeah.
And drive it out. Or I want to balance this cow and keep it going forward. Mm-hmm. You can change the target, but you're still balancing it toward that target. You still have a balance point. A lot of people watch the cutters, they're trying to keep it out of the herd. Yeah, but what if you cut the cow over here on the road deer and the gate's over here? Mm. Or your path over here? That cow needs to go over there and then leave the herd.
Yeah.
So the balance point is wherever you're pushing it, and the balance point is based on how the cow wants to get back. It's an offense-defense thing.
Totally.
The cow's goal post is the herd.
Yeah.
Your goal post is whatever over here. So if you're over here, you're trying to rotate that cow around the road here to get it to go out for whatever reason to the...
This is where the light bulb moment happened for me, and I could feel it. I could feel it in, especially my mare, Lady. I could feel it all of a sudden because you invited me in working those cows and those young heifers who hadn't been worked that much. So it was really fun. Some of them were really kind of quiet and observant. Some are a little bit more flighty. And so you have to adjust your plan. You have to adjust the situation is adjusting constantly moment to moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
But this is where I had this light bulb moment where all of a sudden, because you invited me and you explained that you're going to use your horse's head, your horse's shoulders, and your horse's hindquarters, and the entire angle of the horse's body to influence the cow. Okay, this is where it's really fun, because this is where the Venn diagram happened in my brain. And I could feel it happen in my mare, where all of a sudden, yielding off the leg, a side pass in Western, or a leg yield in the English world, all of a sudden turn on the haunches, turn on the shoulder, maybe a slight, bend in the neck, a slight bend in the cervical spine. All of a sudden, that had a purpose. And it had a purpose moment to moment. So all of a sudden, my mare especially was becoming more and more, okay, what do we, because you can feel this connection where they make it and you make it, where you must yield off of my right leg, because we need to bump this cow out 5 feet. And I want to bump it with your hindquarters. I want you to do a side pass to the left, because I don't want to turn my horse's body to the cow, because that's going to cause it to, that's going to enter into the flight zone. That's going to push that cow in an aggressive way. And we don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a really remarkable light bulb moment for me, and why I think everyone should work cows with their horse at least once, so that the horse can understand, I'm not just giving you pressure with my right leg for fun. There's a reason, and there's this outside external factor that's causing this.
Can I fill in the blanks for
Please.
the people who say, what the hell is she talking about?
What's this gibberish she's talking?
So, everybody, what she left out was cattle communicate with each other, especially horned cattle is more obvious. They headbutt each other. They stab each other with their horns and say, get out of my way. They don't kick, they don't bite like horses do.
Right. So
calves, from the time they're little, the cows butt them around, and that's just how they talk. Bulls fight, they go at it, they're headbutting.
Yes.
That's what I call headbutting. And so a cow might just real subtly tip their horn just a few inches, and the cow next to them is looking, and it's just like a horse, pinning an ear.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of the same thing. He's saying, I don't want you any closer.
Mm.
Or get away from my flake of hay.
Mm.
Whatever it is, that's a subtle sign of aggression.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So this cow sees this four-legged animal with a head hung out there on the end of a long neck, and it goes, it's not a cow, but it kind of looks like a cow. And I don't see any horns on it, but all of a sudden its head comes over there. So what's a cow going to say? Well, I've never been bit, I've never been kicked, but I have been headbutted plenty. That's their language. Mm-hmm. And then you got a predator up here directing this funny-looking four-legged animal with a long neck, and this animal's acting kind of aggressive. So the cow's going to go, it looks funny, I don't like the way it acts, and they're going to yield to it.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a fighting animal, they might fight. We've pretty well bred that out of them. Mm. But if you watch the bullfighting, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Is the bulls will challenge
the horses,
the guy
and the riders,
the bullfighter on the horse.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's there. We've bred it out of these cattle pretty well. Mm. So that's the headbutt. When you steer your horse's head to that cow, and that cow says, uh-oh, here comes a horn. They don't know they don't have
But
horns.
also, I want everyone to imagine, this is like inches. This is a very small amount of movement. It doesn't have to be big.
It's as subtle as a horse moving an ear. It's as subtle as a cow tipping the horn. It's as subtle as your horse's pole broke that way.
Yeah.
Your horse can be dead straight and break its pole and tip to that cow like that, and that cow knows it.
Yeah.
You can have your horse's, and this is where I'm going with this, you can have your horse's nose pole broke away from the cow. And the cow goes, it ain't even looking at me. I don't need to worry. So that's where I say, yeah, but I want to move you. But I don't want to move you with a headbutt because you're going to be too intimidated.
Yes.
So here's where your leg yield comes in. You tail butt this cow. You just take a step maybe with the tail, and the cow's going to go, what the hell's that? They don't know that a horse can kick.
Yeah.
Like they've never been kicked by another cow.
Mm-hmm.
So when you step your horse's hip in there, it's a lot softer move toward the cow than a headbutt. They're intimidated by a headbutt. They kind of go, what is this? But you get about, I'm going to say, twice as close with your horse's hip. And the cow goes, I think I'm going to move away. And she'll move away a lot softer.
Yes.
So that's why we need this leg yield. Or it might even be kind of a quarter turn to where you back into that cow's flank and you're pointed straight away.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now let's talk about the turning away.
Oh my God, you never turn away.
Okay, this is a really important piece because this is how I understood that you can press the gas and you can press the brake with a cow. And all I've ever seen is the gas, and then once you press the gas, you have to keep pressing the gas. And then that's where things kind of get out of control, right? Because not all of us are taught that you can actually decelerate a cow and you can slow them down and you can speed them up.
Well, back to the headbutting, the pole tipped to the cow or the pole tipped away from the cow. So take that on a line of travel. If the cow is going on this line and you're going on a parallel line, now it can be a bent line. You can be going around the herd, but you're still on these lines. They're just bent. Okay? But you're still parallel, just not on a straight line. So we understand that. As soon as those lines become what I call inside parallel, you're inside of that parallel line. So now you're closing in on the cow. Now it can be because you turn toward the cow, or it can be because the cow says, I don't want to get away from the herd any further.
Yeah.
They turn toward you. You're still inside parallel.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who initiated it.
Right.
So now the cow is saying, uh-oh, we're on a collision course. Here comes a headbutt. And so they're going to speed up, they're going to turn, they're going to do something to change that.
Yeah.
And maybe you're over here and the cow does that. She starts to speed up. You turn outside of parallel. Same as turning tail. So now the headbutt goes further away. And there's only minimal circumstances that the cow won't slow down.
Yeah.
The majority of circumstances, the cow goes, he's leaving. I'm safe now. And they'll slow back down. But people have a tendency, the predator has a tendency, I got to get ahead of that cow to stop it. I need to block it.
But all it does.
Get in front of it.
Yeah. And and this happened to me because I did it. I did that textbook.
Everybody does it.
Yeah. And what happened was all you did was squeeze the cow faster ahead of you. And the cow is going to beat you in my situation. The
majority of people, ranchers, good horsemen, cowboys, in the show world, it doesn't matter. The majority of the people don't understand what we're talking about here. They don't understand how the predatorial movements that we do get in their way and cause more trouble.
I want to take a quick pause to invite you into my brand new Substack. Each week, I publish essays on the horse world, from equine industry insights, horse culture, equine economics, even the more mystical, spiritual, and relational side of life with horses. It's where I write more candidly about what I'm seeing, questioning, learning, and working through with my own horses. A lot of these essays are inspired by the wisdom of my podcast guests, my NF Plus instructors, and the incredible horses who keep asking me to look deeper. There are free and paid pieces, and subscribing is a beautiful way for you to support my work in the horse world. You can find my Substack at noellefloyd.substack.com or through the link in the show notes. Now, let's get back to the episode.
The majority of the people don't understand what we're talking about here. They don't understand how the predatorial movements that we do get in their way and cause more trouble. Now, if you can just understand this, but people are going to say, well, how do you teach your horse to watch a cow if you turn tail?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying you don't turn into the cow, but answer me this, and I've seen this plenty. Here's the person, and I've seen this in different countries, different continents. It's a universal thing because people are predators. Doesn't matter if you're in Australia or America. So the cow turns. So I got to turn into it. So you go to headbutt it. Now the cow goes faster. So now you got to go faster on this donkey that really doesn't know how to go faster. So you stick him in the shoulder, the neck with a spur, and you pull his head, and his head is up here, horizontal.
Yeah.
He's looking at the sky. And he's intimidated as hell because, you're ripping his face and stabbing him with spurs. Is this horse looking at the cow? That's the last thing he's thinking about. And by the time you get turned around, if you haven't chased the cow back into the herd, he comes out of that and he's still not thinking about the cow. He's thinking about all the traumatic stuff that just happened in this turn.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the solution? Turn away from him.
Well, and also when we talk about how horses see, a horse pointing their nose directly at the cow, that's not how they see. They don't see like we do. They have peripheral vision.
They see out there a ways, though.
Yeah. But I'm saying if we turn away from the cow, the horse is going to have their eye on the cow for a good chunk of that.
Better than the person.
Yeah.
Way easier than the person.
So it's all of our focus. It's always focusing on how we...
But the point is, the horse isn't looking at the cow and his head's upside down.
Yeah, agreed. I completely agree.
They turn away from the cow. First thing, you didn't headbutt the cow. So the cow's not as fast.
Yeah.
So when you do get turned around, in a little slower environment, you turn around, the cow stops. So when you get turned around, the cow's sitting there waiting on you like, oh, I thought you was leaving. You're coming back. Whereas if you would have turned into him, now it's trotting. Even in a low energy setting. Yeah. Now you got to trot to catch up with that cow. And if she out trots you back into the herd, now you're stirring the herd up again.
Yeah, exactly.
So turn tail. And you pick the cow up. And I asked Tom Dorrance about this when I first started doing this, decades ago. And because everybody that I was around said, don't ever turn tail to a cow. Yeah. That's cowboy stuff. And so I asked Tom about it. He says, well, yeah. He went through his deal real quick. You're beat. This cow is going to outmaneuver you. You're on a green horse. So you turn tail and you come around. And you turn tail and you come back. And you do that how many times? Now, whether it's seconds or days, pretty quick, you're getting this horse to turn a little bit tighter. Pretty quick, you're getting this horse to stop and turn on the haunches. Pretty quick, you're getting this horse to stop and do a nice little roll back.
Totally.
And at the same time, you haven't trained the cattle to go faster and get back into the herd. Whether it's this one cow or the next 20 cows you work, the cattle stay softer, your horse becomes more agile, handier, and the day will come that this cow comes over here and she's in a trot and you're trotting your horse over here, cow gets ready to stop, you just step your horse over a little bit, he does a nice little roll back, trots out of it with the cow. Because it never was I won't say traumatic, but it wasn't a high arousal situation for the horse or the cow. And you can regulate it is what I'm saying. I mean, I like to go as fast as much as the next person. And I like to have a cow horse that makes them big moves as much as the next person. But this other turning them with their head upside down, spurting them in the neck, that gets in the way. That doesn't get you there quicker. That takes longer.
And while I really want to, with a hypothetical highlighter here, I really want to highlight what you're talking about, because I think this is another really big key component is when we want thinking horses, we want horses that are focused on the task at hand, whatever that be, whether that be maneuvers in a dressage arena, whether that be jumping obstacles, whether that be moving cows. And you have really taught me this. Our job is not to take over and become the hyper focus of the horse by yanking or pulling or being too dramatic in our aids or our asks, whatever it may be. Our job is to stay out of the horse's way so that they can focus on the task at hand. And I think that many of us forget that and lose sight of what the objective is, which is to create and to help nurture or mentor a horse to think for themselves and to understand what it is that we're trying to accomplish.
Mm-hmm. They will think for themselves. They do think for themselves. So the question is, when do we get in their way and when do we get out of our way? Now, a lot of people think they have to have constant contact. They got to keep them collected. They're in the horse's way. Not saying everybody that does that is. I'm just saying that there's a lot of situations where you don't need to tell that horse to be collected. And let me go here for a little bit. Some people thinks aware of Gene Lewis, and some people are aware of Gene Lewis. He was a jumping horse trainer. He was my mother's first cousin, so I was around him some growing up. And he was raised on the family ranch, my mother's family.
Did you say
ranch.
3 creeks over?
Mm-hmm, 3 creeks over to the north, which is like 40 miles, but it's 3 creeks over. Yeah. So he grew up out in these hills running wild horses and wild cattle and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I get in the jumping horse world, those people that think they have to get that horse to rate the jump.
Yes.
They got to be telling them, you know, where to put their feet, basically. And they knock jumps down. It's like, wait a minute. Growing up, our horses jump banks, they jump creeks, they jump fallen timber, they jump rocks, they jump all kinds of stuff. We don't rate them. They rate it.
Exactly.
They learn as foals growing up out here how to rate coming down a hill, crossing water, you know, all this stuff that you're doing in the jumping ring. Now, they might not be jumping 6-foot fences, but it doesn't matter if you're rating a 6-foot fence or a 2-foot bank.
Yep.
You still have to leave from a particular point.
And leave balanced.
And leave balanced. That's what I'm talking about.
Leave engaged.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. So I see, you know, 100 head of horses going across the field. There's a pretty good size irrigation ditch. They're going to have to jump 6 feet across this.
Yeah.
You watch them. They're all just loping along here. About 3 strides out, you'll see them kind of shorten up, rate, hop over, and just keep going. Yes. They're not collected. They might get collected. They're about 3 strides out, jump, and no, they're not collected. So Gene, he would... Let me just tell a quick story. When I was staying with them, there'd be some colts to start. So I'd be in the back working with these colts, getting a saddle on them, getting a little left and right on them, and, you know, get them to move out a little bit. Basic stuff. Of course, they're gentle, so it's not like starting ranch horses that you have a big process of getting them gentle. But at the same time, he would take them on the end of his riata from another horse and get them jumping these just low jumps. But he could put them on a course. And he would just kind of be parallel of them about 20 feet away. I mean, I got pictures of him doing this and everything. And after 2 or 3 days, sessions of him getting those colts doing that, he'd just come around there and their ears would go like that, and they'd go down through there perfectly. Now, in 3 days, I'd be out there in the arena, in the jumping pen in the area. We're kind of wallering around, can't really get them in a straight line very good, but I can kind of get them trotting out. And maybe I'd be in my stock saddle, maybe I'd be in a flat saddle. But He'd say, all right, now line him up there and blah, 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 bring him down through those jumps. I'd bring him around there, and as soon as he's seen that course, his ears would go up, and it's just like I turned him loose going to the barn. I mean, it didn't matter what I'd done with my reins. He's been going over these jumps without any bridle.
Yes.
Without any rider.
Yes.
And it's just like I'm a passenger, down through these jumps. I turn him around. Basically, I just line him up like Gene done. And all Gene done, once he got him lined up, is flip his riata over the standard and go on to the next one. Flip his riata over the standard and go to the next one. The horse liked it.
Yeah.
You know, he was getting exercise. He's been in the stall. I mean, why wouldn't he like it? He go out and jump and play out in the field. So that horse learning to do his job. But my point is these horses didn't need anybody in their way to get them to do this. It took very little, very minimal with that rope on them and to kind of motivate them to get down through there. And it took very little for me once I was on their back, because Gene already put the foundation on them as far as going to the jump. So along with applying that to a cow, it's like we don't have to have our horses collected. We don't. We're working cattle all day long. Now, when we're coming around here and I can see this cow's going to stop and turn, that's when my horse needs to get collected.
Right.
But for that horse to be collected all the way, all day, no. So when I see these people that say, I want to practice collection. Practice collection, that's like practicing getting in the starting blocks and then carrying that for minutes or hours even. Now, I get it, there's gymnastics, horses that are kept in stalls need to develop muscle, but I don't come from that world. These horses are running up and down the hills. They're developing muscle. Not saying they're developing 100% of the muscle that these dressage horses have. And I don't know what it is, if it's 50 or 90 or 99, but that's never an issue with us to develop muscle. These horses are developed, just from running loose.
There's actually a perfect opportunity for us to segue into managing horses naturally. So there's a lot of movement, a lot of conversation, a lot of discussion, and a lot of passionate discourse about how we can manage our horses more naturally in the world. So a lot of us, me included, come from an environment where our horses are stalled for large amounts of the day. Some of the horses that that were imported from Europe had never even been turned out. They'd spent most of their life.
That's that traditional horsemanship.
Right. For everyone who's only listening and not watching, you can see the sarcastic glint in Martin's eye.
I just get a kick out of people when they say traditional horsemanship like it's a bad thing.
Right.
Yet they're keeping their horses in stalls. They're feeding them 3 times a day. They don't have access to grazing, all the time.
Yeah.
And I get it. Everybody can't do that. We got coach horses that live in New York City.
Yeah.
You can't turn them out. I get that.
Yeah.
But I think where you're going with this, if I can take the mic.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that don't realize the benefits of not being in a stall, being turned out together. Now they go, yeah, but I give $1 million for this racehorse. I can't turn him out. That horse doesn't know he's worth $1 million. Now, granted, you might not want to take the chance, but, and not to get into this too much, but, I spent a lot of time at Calumet. I was there for 10 years starting their babies in Lexington. They had big runs, big paddocks. They'd turn them horses out, and they wasn't across the fence from each other, but there was a 20-foot alleyway between them, which is real standard for a lot of places. They could run up and down the fence, cross from the fence. They still, could get maybe whatever oxytocin or whatever they would get from each other, but they wasn't in stalls. Things didn't stay in stalls there. It was rare for horses to stay in stalls there.
You have horses out here that are running on a lot of variable ground. They're barefoot. Some of them are barefoot, some of them are shod.
They're only shod when I need them, when I'm riding them.
Okay. Explain that to everybody.
Well, not to get into a horseshoeing session here, but basically I think that it's a lot healthier for the horse not to have shoes. And that's why I try not to have shoes. But I can't ride him without shoes.
Yeah, there's certain footing here you really need shoes for.
It's rocky.
Yeah.
Now, I've had people come out here, yeah, well, I got a Mustang and he doesn't need shoes. Yeah, keep up with me. About 3 days, I promise you, that horse is going to be begging for shoes. Now, if you only walk around and you only ride for a couple hours, yeah, he doesn't need shoes. Maybe, if he's got good hard feet. But if he's been in moist conditions, his feet are going to be softer. If he's got white hooves, they're going to be softer. I don't hesitate putting shoes on horses here if I'm going to be using them. I don't like riding a sore-footed horse.
No. And you'll pull them off when you can.
As soon as I'm done riding them, I'll pull them off. Even, so what happens here quite often is, I do a ranch school, or I do a clinic here, or I do a series of clinics or whatever. So I get X number of horses shod up for clients coming from overseas or whatever, or just from out of town that aren't going to haul their horses. So I get, say, 5 or 10 or however many horses shod. So now we're good to go. We got an inventory here we can pick from, and I don't need to pussyfoot around riding sore-footed horses. We can go somewhere, we can do things, and we can go to the next creek over and and back. But as soon as they're done, even if it's for 2 weeks,
you'll pull the shoes off
before I have another group coming in, and they've had shoes on for 4 weeks, and I'm going to need them for, say, another 4 weeks. I'm not going to leave the shoes on for 8 weeks or 10 weeks.
Cool.
So I'm going to pull them off and try to take advantage. This is my point. I'm going to try to take advantage of that window of leaving them barefoot.
Oh, cool.
And then shoe them again 2 weeks later for the next whatever. I don't want, if I don't, and I don't have to. It very rare that I would keep a horse shod for several months straight. Now, I used to when I was buckarooing, but in this world, no. I'm on airplanes flying to Timbuktu or Florida or wherever, and I'm gone. But I would say probably at least 75% of the time, the horses are barefoot here.
Something else that I noticed that I really appreciate, and I don't even know if you do this consciously, you might not even do this consciously. So the horses are on your ranch, they have to navigate all sorts of different types of footing, all different types of obstacles, all different types of terrain. And I noticed that my horses, since they've been here, they have to, navigate like a creek there's a creek in their paddock. There's all sorts of different types of rocks. There's, you're actually, my horses just being here are getting more savvy with the terrain. Just by the sheer way in which you've laid it out, in which the environment that the horses are being in. So what would you say to those people who want to have that kind of perfect, pristine paddock that doesn't lend any challenges or any obstacles to getting to things like water?
Well, again, there's things you want to protect your investment.
Yes.
I get that and I respect that. There's things you don't want to do, like leaving barbed wire laying around. I had the cows knock a fence down.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it, but there's one barbed wire strand about 18 inches high, and they broke the other strands, and they're just laying there on the ground loose. Well, those 3 horses you seen, they went back and forth through that fence several times. They never got scared. They picked their feet up over that barbed wire. Now, I don't really like to do this, but the point is, them horses were fine walking through that barbed wire fence with wire laying on the ground and a wire hawk high. They learned to pick their feet up when they go through the willows. They learn to pick their feet up when they go through the brush. And they don't need to be afraid of barbed wire if they can, and this is really going out on a limb for people. And I'm not saying leave a bunch of barbed wire 18 inches high, but all of my horses are good about ropes around their legs. And that's why I want them good about ropes around their legs, is if they do get somewhere and there's wire, they're hopefully have the confidence not to be afraid of that wire.
It's made me realize that the environments that we allow our horses to exist in or to thrive in, they can either make them smarter or, for lack of a better word, less exposed, less savvy. So what's been amazing is if you look at my horses that have traveled across this country 25,000 miles for 365 days, we've been in all sorts of environments. We've been in places that were pristine and perfect and heavily manicured. We've also been in places where there's fenced down, and I can't control that, right?
Yeah. Well, basically, I don't mean to interrupt, but
no, please.
You got the helicopter moms.
Yes.
With their horses.
Yes.
And okay, they have a companion animal, and they have it for emotional reasons. I don't have horses for emotional reasons. Not saying that I don't enjoy them. I don't, really respect them, and a lot of things that people say, "Oh, you hate your horses." No, I don't hate my horses, but they're a business for me. And does that make me cold-hearted? No, I'm running a business, and I don't think my horses are any worse off for it. My horses are running out 24/7, 365 days a year. I don't even have a stall on this ranch. They're not kept in a corral. You've seen there's a big lot that we catch them in. That's nearly an acre. I mean, it's a big area. That's as confined as most of them get.
Yes.
They go in the round pen for their initial training at some point. They're not kept in a tight area. And I'll match my vet bills against anybody's.
Yes. Yeah.
And you see the wire cuts on my horses? No, it's minimal. You see any scars on my horses? No, it's minimal. Colics? No. Colic is almost unheard of here. Well, I've never had one. I know it can happen, but not to get into that. But, I maintain their teeth. Nature maintains their feet for the most part. This is what I like about this ranch.
Yeah.
It's about as low maintenance, high production as you can get for a horse outfit.
Well, and I want to share that, like, my horses have had to adapt, and as we adapt their environment, as we change and we invite them to be smarter, I haven't had those horses. My horses haven't gotten caught up in wire. We haven't had this kind of incidents that maybe the old me would have been worried about when I was in an environment in which we try to control, bubble wrap our horses more.
When he was more of a helicopter mom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And in that kind of environment where we're afraid of things to happen, so it's like that fear, we don't give the horses any liberty to use their own mind and their own self-preservation.
And that's kind of a cultural thing. I mean, my family growing up, our horses run outside all the time. I mean, they were 6 years old before they come in to break them. They were out all that time.
Yeah.
And we didn't have a place to put them. There was very few fences, very few corrals. So it was just a cultural thing. Now, Europe and cities and places like that, they don't have that option. They got stalls. I get that.
Yeah.
But and I guess that's the thing is I think today, if we can learn from other cultures, not saying that they need to go buy a ranch like this, but if they can just take a little bit of what these horses have here and try to put it in their place, would they be better off? And that's what you're saying you've learned.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, I've learned that more is not always more. That's a really important one.
They're a lot more durable than what people think.
I've also learned, and especially from you, to be comfortable in that uncomfortable phase where the horse is figuring it out, and don't rob them of the learning opportunity that they have to figure something out. And you've made me really abundantly aware of that. And it might take some horses, sometimes it takes G a little bit longer than Lady. Lady will connect the dots faster. He sometimes takes a little longer, and I sometimes get impatient, and I want to make that, I want him to connect the dots quicker, but I'm robbing him of that learning.
Well, there's that 5-year-old, 10-year-old, that mature horse that was raised in a protected environment, and you bring him out here, it's like the city boy coming to the farm.
Right.
They're never going to adapt. Not saying they won't learn, to survive better, but they'll always stick out. Just like if I went to New York City, I'm going to stick out like Crocodile Dundee. I mean, you don't change completely. But again, what I'm saying is there's a lot of opportunity that horses are missing out on because the owners aren't willing to get out of their comfort zone, the person's comfort zone.
So to wrap up the podcast, I want you to leave everyone with some advice. Because there are a lot of people who listen to this podcast who are urban riders, and they have no choice. They're not like,
Right.
They're not sitting there. They're going, yeah, Martin, Noelle, I would love to buy a 1,000-acre farm somewhere or a 1,000-acre ranch somewhere, but I don't have that opportunity. What are some things that they can do to bring a more naturally influenced or naturally derived horsemanship to their practice?
Well, a lot of people are onto it. They need to get out of the stall and get exercise.
Yeah.
Okay, but one example would be, I see a lot of the Western riders, cutters and whatnot, I've been around a lot, they get out and lope circles on these 2-year-olds. Not to get into the 2-year-old deal, but any age horse. But they're loping little tiny circles. Lope down to the mailbox and back. Hopefully it's like a couple miles, is my point there. Lope in a straight line. And the English do the same thing, except they lunge them.
Yes.
And there's a lot of negative stuff comes from lunging. And again, like Calumet, they had big paddocks and they would turn them out. They could run and buck and play. My granddad said, when I was little, he said, you need to have your mares and foals. And this is when later in life, and he still had like over 100 head of horses. And he run them on irrigated pasture. But he said, it's important that them foals can run as far as they want to run in a straight line without having to turn. Mm-hmm. And his point was, if they're in a corral and they race up into a corner and have to turn, that's not good on their hocks, and that's not good to raise your foals in. Well, not to get into the 2-year-old thing, but a lot of them are doing that with their young horses instead of loping them, for 2 miles down the road.
Yeah.
Not on the road, but on the edge of the road. Yeah. But there's just opportunity like that. But how many riders aren't comfortable getting out of the arena?
Right. Get out of the arena.
And maybe the road's not a safe place. Maybe there's too many trucks or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the point is find a trail that you could go out on, and you don't have to lope them, trot them.
Yeah.
I think trotting's healthier for them anyway. Mechanically.
You know what? And this is like such a cool place to end this is Lindy Birch sat right where you are and talks about how she will ride out 9-10 times out of 10 before she rides in the arena. That she gets more out of riding out. And it's such a beautiful episode because she talks about this, we got to be careful of our obsession with the arena. Right. Mm-hmm. And I hear so many trail riders, people who ride trails, who that's their main focus when they ride their horses. Oh, I'm just a trail rider. Right. Well,
you could do, and I do. Most of my training is not in the arena, even when I had an arena, which I don't have one now because I just kind of got to the point, what do I need an arena for? Unless I'm training rope horses or cow horses or something. You've been to my training area.
I love your training area.
It's about 3/4 of a mile to it.
Yep.
And then it's a little dry lake bed, nice, flat, good footing.
Beautiful footing. Like I know people who would have spent thousands of dollars for the footing that you have along that dried creek bed, mm-hmm. and then which is like a track.
They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars hauling that footing into their arena. And that's my point. You can condition the horse, you can practice lead changes, you can get on my little dry lake bed and lope circles or do whatever you want.
Yeah.
The point is it's good footing, good training area. And when you want to say to the horse, you don't need to be mentally engaged with me, he can be looking around and just going, I love nature. You ride him out, on the way home. It's not like riding him in the arena where they're going, what's that over there? What's that over there? What'd you say? No, they can just be a horse. That's the thing I like about riding out. And I think that's what Lindy, not to speak for Lindy, but
that's exactly.
There's a huge benefits to getting out of the arena for the horse. Now, if you're not comfortable out there and you got to be comfortable with it too, though.
Yeah. Martin, as always, I learned so much from you, and I'm so grateful that you take the time to impart it all for us. Thank you.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you. Hope we help some people.
Nice, buddy.
If the access and insight of this podcast makes you want to go deeper and actually apply these ideas with your own horses, NF Plus is where I've brought together some of the best riders, trainers, horsemen, horsewomen, sports psychologists, and practitioners in the horse world. Inside the NF Plus app, you'll find more than 70 masterclass courses on the challenges so many of us face. Spooky horses, finding a distance, developing a better canter, developing feel, navigating fear and anxiety, or becoming a more thoughtful rider and horse person. Our instructors include Tick Maynard, Will Coleman, Carl Cook, Peter Wild, Dr. Jenny Susser, Ann Krasinski, and so many more. I created NF Plus as a safe, thoughtful place to learn at your own pace, with teachers and riders who have a wealth of knowledge. You can explore more at noellefloydplus.com or find the link to download the app in the show notes.